The NMRA Division 7 is proud to share this video recorded during the final weeks of operation for Entertrainment Junction. Recorded in November and December 2024 during the final weeks of the park, this video highlights many of the trains and scenes from the contemporary period of railroading. There are many videos documenting Entertainment Junction during its final weeks, and much of the entertainment and artistic appeal of the park are captured in these videos. Knowing the display was already well documented, the NMRA Division 7 set out to record and share the layout in the order you would have experienced it as a visitor. This video is the third in a series of videos the NMRA Division 7 is publishing on Entertainment Junction. This video will feature the contemporary period of railroading. We will begin our tour following a brief message from the NMRA Division 7.
Are you a model railroader in the Cincinnati area? Maybe you are new to the hobby and would like to learn more. The National Model Railroad Association Division 7 is an ideal place to start. Everyone from experienced modelers to newcomers are welcome. The monthly meeting is a great place to meet people and ask questions. Visit the Division 7 website for more information and make plans to attend an upcoming meeting and become part of this exciting and talented organization.
Passing through the tunnel connecting the middle period of railroading to the contemporary period, we arrive in the city of Everytown. Here, trains are similar to the ones you see in real life today, passing through a modern city complete with high-rise buildings and busy highways. The very first structure to really catch your attention in the contemporary period was the highway bridge crossing the main line and subway lines. This detailed bridge allows the people of Everytown to pass in and out of the city with ease. Beyond the bridge, you move into the heart of the downtown area. The town square draws people together to celebrate the holidays. Here you'll find some folks grabbing a bite to eat while others take advantage of the ice skating rink on the square. The town square is also the perfect place to take in the parade passing by on the adjacent streets. The city scene in the contemporary period was dominated by the massive skyscrapers that tower over the railroad. Many of these buildings were inspired by real buildings and stood more than 20 stories tall. Details were not neglected in the contemporary period either. The buildings with windows had detailed interiors, including office buildings and apartments. Building rooftops, city streets, and city parks were also completed with detailed scenes. The contemporary period also featured a modern subway system. There were multiple subway stations along the layout where passengers could board and depart commuter trains. Here are a couple of examples, one an open-air station while the other is a true underground subway station. Nearing the end of the town square area, we see some of the townfolk enjoying a day in the park. This scene was complete with a putt-putt course, a small fishing pond, and a picnic area. There is even a poor gentleman who didn't see the wet paint sign on the park bench. Looking down the line, we see the residential part of Everytown. We'll head there next. Rounding the bend, we enter the residential area of Everytown. The buildings of the downtown still dominate the background, but now the foreground is filled with modern single-family homes. The busy main line separates the two parts of towns with multiple grade crossings for traffic going back and forth. The residential area is home to several of the residents of Everytown. Each house is detailed inside and out, and there are a wide variety of events and activities going on. If you look closely, you'll see parties, Christmas decorations, guys pitching horseshoes, and kids playing. At the end of the street is the local church and a small cemetery. The church even had detailed stained glass windows. Looking beyond the houses and across the tracks, we turn our attention back to downtown Everytown. The steam era we left behind from the middle period is now represented by a static display in front of one of the buildings. Animation at Entertainment Junction wasn't limited to the movement of scenery elements. In downtown Everytown, the front of some of the buildings incorporated light displays to celebrate the holidays. Like any modern city, progress never stops, and that usually means there is always construction going on. Everytown is no different. Here, a large crane is hard at work building a new skyscraper. The end of the residential district is marked by a giant lift bridge that connects every town to an industrial park. Across the aisle from Everytown was a small industrial park. The two scenes were connected by the large lift bridge that we saw previously, but because it blocked the aisle, the bridge had to be left in the up position, meaning the tracks could not be used for trains. The main industry in the industrial park was the Green Chemical Processing Corporation. This complex featured a blue processing building connected to several storage tanks with a complex maze of pipes. One of the features of the layout design at Entertrainment Junction was the ability to demonstrate how railroads work. In this industrial park, there was a train assigned to switch the industries. The train included a small engine and a single tank car, and on rotation, the tank car would be spotted and then later picked up from the Green Chemical Processing Corporation siding. But the automation built into the layout shows how train crews would move back and forth to put the cars in the right place for local customers. Once the switching train was clear of the main, the regular freights can start rolling again. The industrial park had its own collection of detailed scenes. These scenes included a work area that used an old boxcar as a storage shed and some junk cars in a field. A small mobile home park was full of details like clothes on a line and a man working on his car while his wife talked to him from the front step. The other large industry in the industrial park was the W.C. Mincy United Grain Elevator. Grain elevators are a common source of revenue for railroads, and this one at Entertainment Junction showed just how tall they stood above the waiting train cars. High above the industrial park was another elevated rail line. This one featured a holiday train decked out in festive lights. Turning back to Everytown, we see the Space Needle section of town from the balcony for one of the meeting rooms. From here, you can see across the entire city, even back to the highway bridge we saw when we first entered this section of the layout. A second view of this end of town shows how the model of the Seattle Space Needle does a very effective job of hiding a support column. As we look at the buildings on this side of town, we see another example of the dedication to detail at Entertainment Junction. Check out this apartment building and just look at all the modeled plants among all the other details inside. And since we're already looking up, let's take a good look at the model of the Seattle Space Needle. If you go back through the shots at Everytown, you will see that most of the main streets led to the center of town and to City Hall. This Golden Dome building sat in the middle of Everytown at Entertainment Junction. The foreground of the Space Needle scene started with a scene well known in Cincinnati. The dense schoolhouse is duplicated here with carolers singing in front. Past the schoolhouse, there's a classic car meet going on. Nearing the end of Everytown, we reach a small retail district. The shops in these buildings are furnished with the appropriate details. But watch out, traffic is blocked while police clear a fender bender. One last detail before we leave Everytown. CSX maintenance crews are on the job repairing a crossing signal. Safety always comes first, even at Entertainment Junction. As you leave Everytown, there is a very nice scene of a wooden trestle on the other side of the aisle. Passing through another tunnel, we arrive in Amish country. But visitors familiar with Entertainment Junction may also refer to this as the hot air balloon scene, because this scene is dominated by a colorful hot air balloon that visitors could activate from the front of the display.
Let's go!
There was a lot more to this scene than just the hot air balloon. Along the tracks in the foreground was an Amish village with shops full of produce, tools, and supplies that you would find in a typical Amish community. A mix of modern vehicles and horse-drawn wagons complete the scene. In the background was a large Amish farm. Set up on a hillside, this scene was complete with a farmhouse, barns, and silos. There were several farm animals and crops as well. Taking a closer look at the Amish village, you'll find a blacksmith shop and a supply store. Miller's Farm Fresh Produce has all the fruits and vegetables you could ever want, and there is even a wagon repair shop that I bet the guy with the red sports car will not be going to. The Amish scene at Entertainment Junction was a small scene. At the far end of the scene, our trains come and go through a couple of tunnels. High above the Amish farm, our holiday train circles the layout, passing a lodge overlooking the valley on both sides. The bridge in the foreground is another bridge that visitors walk under as they enjoy the layout at Entertainment Junction. As the trains pass through the tunnel, skateboarders, walkers, and bicyclists follow a paved trail around the mountain. This trail continues into the next scene at Entertainment Junction. On the other side of the aisle, a single-track main line passes an abandoned station. It is a sad reality of modern railroading that many of these structures have fallen into disrepair or been demolished. At least this old depot is being put to good use, as this young man is proposing to his girlfriend. High above the abandoned station was another one of the spectacular bridges at Entertainment Junction. The last scene of the railroad journey at Entertainment Junction was a modern rail yard. But before you got to the yard, you passed a small industrial area. Here we see a plastics processing plant in the foreground and a cement plant in the background. The parking lot of the plastic processing plant is still full, but it must be near the end of the day as workers wave goodbye to each other for the night. The boxcar in the background was an award-winning model at the 2013 National Garden Railway Convention for its detailed weathering and graffiti. The plastics processing plant was serviced by a switching train that shuttled cars back and forth between the plant siding and the railroad yard, while other trains passed by on the main line above. The cement plant stood across the main line at the foot of the hill. Cement trucks line up to be loaded underneath the control room. Visitors walked around a bend at Entertainment Junction to arrive at the rail yard. Along the way, visitors passed under multiple large bridges that soared well above ground level. Here are some clips of those spectacular bridges, and if you pay attention, you might even catch a nod to modern air travel. Rounding the last corner, we arrive at the modern rail yard. Viewed from the mezzanine, you can see how expansive this model was. And there was one last trick up the sleeves of the volunteers at Entertainment Junction. If you look closely, you'll realize the scene does not extend beyond the bridge. There is a mirror underneath the bridge that gives the illusion of a much larger scene. A control tower stands at one end of the yard. Workers in the tower control all the train movements in the yard. Large displays in the tower keep the employees informed of where all the trains are at any given time and what needs to be done next. Many more employees are needed to run a railroad that can fit in the control tower, so office buildings nearby are home to the other employees. The yard at Entertrainment Junction was also home to a large intermodal facility. Here containers are transferred from rail to truck or truck to rail depending on which way the products in the containers are going. Entertainment Junction even had a working crane to move the containers back and forth. We've reached the end of the railroad journey at Entertainment Junction, and sadly, we can never take this journey again. Hopefully the videos published by the NMRA Division 7 and the many other fans of the park will keep the memories alive and fresh in our minds. We were really fortunate to have Entertainment Junction in our own backyard from 2008 to 2025, and offer a sincere thank you to all of the staff members and volunteers who made this possible over the years. The NMRA Division 7 would like to thank the staff and volunteers at Entertainment Junction who were so gracious in assisting us in our efforts to document the display and providing us additional information and materials for use in the video. The NMRA Division 7 would also like to recognize its own volunteers who contributed their own time and skills to this project.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and be sure to subscribe to the NMRA Division 7 YouTube channel to be notified about future videos. For more information about the NMRA Division 7, please visit our website and our Facebook page.